Good morning and welcome to this edition of The Heat Seat here on 90.1 FM The Heat, Niagara's new rock. Joining us in the studio today via phone is a man who has worked with some of the music industry's finest, from the Bare Naked Ladies to Feist and even Rush. He is Juno award-winning producer and sound mixer Joe Dunphy. And Joe, thank you very much for joining us today.
Not a problem.
So tell me, Joe, what was it that made you want to get into the world of sound recording?
Well, when I'm thinking back now, I'm not quite sure that I remember exactly, but when I was in university, playing music and, wanted to start recording, and, I'd have bands over to my house, and, we'd jam in the basement and record it, and I think it kind of started there.
So when you first began in the industry, where did you start?
Well, that was in Newfoundland, and certainly doing live sound in bars and clubs around Newfoundland. And then when I came to Toronto, I met a couple of bands, and I was mixing in bars in Toronto, and met a couple of bands and worked with them, and made recordings for them. And parallel to that, I worked at a little post-production facility called Sound Techniques, and the owner, Larry, kind of, has been in the industry for a long, long time, and he taught me everything that he knows about post audio and documentary sound recording, and through the mid '90s.
So currently you now co-own and operate a studio in Toronto by the name of Revolution Recording. Tell me, when did the idea of the studio first come to mind?
That started in 2006, I believe, in the late summer of 2006. Just conversations with other friends of mine in the industry, and we were all kind of looking for the next the next thing, so to speak. And I was my lease on my last facility was up, and I was in the middle of negotiating another lease. And anyway, got to talking to my friends who are now my partners, and we decided we would pool our resources to build a bigger world-class facility, and we thought we could have it done in a year and a half to 2 years, and it took a fair bit longer than that.
We're talking with Juno award-winning producer and sound mixer Joe Dunphy here on the Heat Seat on Niagara's new rock 90.1 FM The Heat. And Joe, when Revolution Recording was built and you first started recording bands there, tell me, what were some of your fondest memories of that time?
I think that, I'm just trying to think. The first, maybe it was the first or second session that I recorded in the studio, and well, it might have been the second session that I recorded myself was for Jason Collette, and we recorded I think I'm going to say 20 or 21 songs live off the floor with all the overdubs finished in 5 days, which is and recorded it all to analog tape too. So it was a really kind of crazy undertaking. Frequently a project like that could take, just to do the bed tracks on that number, on that many songs could take, 2 or 3 weeks or longer, depending on, on who the artist is. But,
Yep.
Certainly, 2 weeks would be a more reasonable amount of time just to do bed tracks and a couple of basic overdubs. But they walked out with a record that was ready to be mixed.
So most recently, you had the opportunity to work with Rush on their latest studio album, Clockwork Angels. Tell me, what was it like working with a band like Rush?
Well, it was very reaffirming that they came through to look at the studio while we were still under construction. Okay. And it was a disaster in here because there's a dozen or so construction workers around, and there's and it was just reaffirming because I walked through with the guys and explained to them what the vision was and what things were going to look like, and in my head they made their decision that this is where they're going to make the record, and they are the kind of band that they have to make their plans a year, probably a year in advance, their touring schedules and their family schedules and stuff. So They came into a construction site and saw the vision and decided to make the record here.
All right, I just want to take this chance to say, Joe, thank you very much for calling in today and joining us in studio. It's been an honor and a pleasure having you. That'll do it for this edition of the Heat Seat here on Niagara's New Rock. I'm Daryn Bolland, and you are listening to 90.1 FM, The Heat.